Hi guys, it's Lara. Thanks for watching and welcome to our today's What I Eat in a Day vlog. So today, in addition to all of my meals, I will also tell you a little bit about how I am preparing for my explant surgery. My explant surgery is from the day on which I'm filming in a week, but by the time you're going to be watching this video, it's probably going to be just 2 days. So I will show you all the meals today. I will show you how I prepared some of them. For some of them, I already have recipes, so I will link them down below, and then we are going to chat a little bit. So if that's something you're interested in, then please keep watching. I already pulled my hair back into a ponytail and I put on this onesie. That's one of my favorite onesies. I have a tutorial for a similar piece on my DIY channel, and right now I am going to exercise. Simultaneously, I am cooking mung beans. I pre-soaked them overnight and I will need them tonight for dinner. So I thought I'm gonna use up the time during which I'm gonna exercise and cook these. For breakfast, as always, I'll have a smoothie that Jack made in the morning, but this time it's not just bananas. In addition to bananas, he put in also strawberries. Yesterday I had to go to the post office, and on my way home I stopped by in a shop that's not far from there where they have lovely fruits and veggies. I usually buy our fruits and veggies just in a supermarket, but for some fruits I like going to this particular shop because usually it's a little bit of a better quality. That's where we, for example, buy our berries for our pancakes that we occasionally have on Sundays. And yesterday when I went by, it smelled so wonderful, like strawberries, and they had strawberries on sale, so of course I couldn't resist. As always, I started my training with a warm-up. I will link down below my warm-up routine. That video is my warm-up routine in real time, so whenever you feel like warming up with me, you are very welcome to do so. Today I added a few leg exercises. So first I did a few regular squats, and then I did a couple of squats with side kicks. And then I continued limbering up. I did this exercise, which is one of my favorite. I call it side squats, and at the end I stayed on each side and took about 5 deep breaths and stretched my legs a little bit. I did one additional forward bend to release the back of my legs, and then I limbered up my core and my back. Next, I did a few hydrants. Next, I straightened my leg sidewards and I painted with my toes 10 circles in each direction. And then I repeated the procedure for the other side. Then I did a few donkey kicks. And I did the small whips with straightened legs. I rested shortly in child's pose. Next I did a few Supermans. When I was done, I held the locust pose for about 5 deep breaths. And then I did one of my favorite abs exercises, which is leg raises. After that, I rested in the plow pose. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. And then I did the Sphinx pose for about 5 deep breaths. The cobra pose. Again, locust. Camel pose. And as a last pose, I did bow. After that, I did a few handstands. I realized that I have a banana back. I'm working on it. I also did a couple of forearm stands. As you can see, I clearly enjoy hand balance poses. And then I was ready to stretch. That was a wonderful workout. And now I'm gonna stretch, and I thought it would be a great time to talk to you about how I am and how I was preparing in the past few weeks for my surgery. Now, in general, you do not have to prepare in any certain way for a surgery like that, apart from what the doctor tells you. And I got a list of pills that I'm not supposed to take. It's usually painkillers because supposedly they can make your blood thinner. And there's some medicine that could kind of mess up your system in combination with the anesthesia. I don't know the correct term for that, what would happen. So obviously I'm not the doctor, but I think you know what I mean. But I thought in addition to all these rules, it would be a great idea to kind of take extra good care of myself. Now, I'm living very healthy. I'm eating mainly whole foods and I'm exercising regularly, sleeping regularly. But I thought, let's put a little bit more emphasis on that and let's make sure that I'm really nice to myself. So I kind of cut out the junk food in the past few weeks, and I also cut out processed sugar because I thought that's never a bad idea anyway. And I've been also drinking for about 3 weeks celery juice daily in the morning, but I haven't been drinking it because I thought it's a miracle cure and it's gonna whatever like change the direction to which the world is turning. I think it's a great addition to your nutrition. You don't have to necessarily drink it daily, but I will film a separate video about that, about my experience and about my reasons and about what I think of this hype. So more to that later. But I thought it would be a nice thing to add celery to my nutrition. But then I also found out that if you eat celery or if you are drinking celery juice, there is, I think it's the vitamin K inside that might make your blood a little bit thinner. So you should be very careful with that. So if you're planning a surgery, it said like 2 weeks before you should stop eating celery or like having celery juice. And I don't know if it's true, but I didn't want to take any chances. So basically 2 weeks before the surgery, I stopped with the celery juice. And 10 days before the surgery was the mark where I was still allowed to take painkillers. But from that day on, I wasn't allowed to take any painkillers. And other than that, I made sure that I went to bed always at a reasonable time, that I get enough sleep, and I tried not to stress myself much. In the past few weeks, I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna exercise daily like a mad woman. I'm just gonna take it easy, do light yoga, stretch, and just do everything that makes me feel good, like take a bath, read a book, go on a nice walk, but just don't drive yourself crazy, because when I go to the hospital, I don't want to arrive there exhausted. I want to arrive there basically rested, if that makes any sense. So that's what I have been doing in terms of preparing for my surgery. And also I couldn't help it, and I Googled the explant surgery, and I found also some clips how they are doing that, so that I knew what's coming. I stopped in the middle of that because I was like, too much information, I don't need to know that. I think they know what they're doing. So I would not necessarily recommend Googling exactly the procedure because it's pretty graphic. But I've been reading some blogs, and I've been watching a few videos of people who had implants and who had them removed for health reasons, just to know how it was for them. And almost everyone said that the pain was bearable and it wasn't such a big deal. And I have seen that even a few days after the surgery, they were pretty fit. And that kind of helped me too, not because I would be worried, because I know that I'm a very strong person and I'm very fit and I usually recover very fast from injuries, but it helped me to plan my work, because there are certain things I have to do at the beginning of the month, and I knew it's not going to be a big deal in case something gets forgotten or something is going to be a little bit slower, because I know a few days after the surgery I will be able to go to the office and work maybe like at least a few hours. And honestly, I think in general it's always the best to believe in the positive outcome of any event that is about to happen in your life, if it's a surgery or anything that worries you, because first of all, you can always worry later, and second, if you are going into things with a healthy, positive mindset, that's definitely better than believing everything's gonna be terrible, because thoughts like that would stress you out, and that can also put strain on your body. We all know about the placebo effect. When people believe that something's gonna work, then it's very often working just because of their mindset. And that's why I think it's a really important thing to focus on the most positive outcome of surgeries or events, and to strongly believe that everything's going to be okay. And that is essentially the mindset that I'm going into this surgery with. The next stretches that I did were different straddle stretches. I held each for 2 minutes, and then I couldn't help but balance on my hands a little bit in straddle because it's so cool. And then I grabbed my yoga wheel and I did a few back bends. I enjoy back bends very much. And at the end I did the peacock pose, because this one makes me always feel so strong, so powerful, so amazing. And then I had my smoothie and my water, and then I did us all a favor and took a shower. For lunch, I'm going to have lentil sprout salad. So I have here lentil sprouts, half of a zucchini chopped into little cubes, about 3 or 4 mushrooms, and then I added scallions, and then I poured an almond butter dressing on it. The dressing is super easy. It's just 2 tablespoons of almond butter with about 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and juice of 1 lime blended together with a hand mixer, and then I poured part of the amount on the salad, and I still have about half of it in the fridge for tomorrow. And then I sprinkled pumpkin seeds on the top. They are super healthy and I also like the taste. But this portion is not necessarily super large, and it's not really calorie dense because it's just raw veggies and almond butter. So that's why I'll also have a chia pudding. So it's strawberry white chocolate chia pudding, and I will show you how I made it. I made our chia puddings as always in mason jars. I poured into each mason jar 1 cup of almond milk. I sweetened the almond milk with about 7 drops of the white chocolate flavor drops from My Protein per glass. Next, I added into each glass 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds. I added 3 tablespoons of chia seeds into each glass. I stirred both mixtures properly. And then I added almost a cup of chopped strawberries into each glass. And then I stirred all again. And then I let the glasses sit for a couple of minutes, and then I went back and stirred all again. You will notice that the chia seeds will start soaking up the liquid, but they usually kind of drop to the bottom, so you have to repeat this procedure a couple of times until you will notice that the chia seeds will keep floating. Once the chia seeds were soaked up a bit and they were equally distributed, I stirred the puddings for the last time. And then I covered them with a lid and I put them in the fridge. You have to leave them in the fridge for at least 3 to 4 hours, ideally overnight, which is what I have done. Normally, Jack and I eat the same foods, but today is an exception because Jack actually hates zucchinis. So that's why he took something else with him to the office. I made yesterday kraut strudel, which we had for dinner, and he took a few pieces today with him for lunch. He's gonna eat it with a little bit of coconut yogurt on the top. So I will link the recipe for my favorite kraut strudel down below, and he will also have the strawberry chia pudding. We just came back home from the office. It is 10 to 6 and I'm actually hungry again, of course, because I had only raw lunch, which was not very color dense. So instead of waiting for dinner, which we will have somewhere between 7 and 8 o'clock, I will have a snack. So I've decided to have one piece of the kraut strudel with a little bit of coconut oil on it, and I'll make myself a lovely chai tea with cashew milk. I obviously meant to say coconut yogurt on the strudel, not coconut oil. For dinner, I cooked mung bean masala. So as a first step, I cooked 1 cup of basmati rice. I'm always using this casserole and I always cover it with 2 cups of water, and then I always add a little bit of salt. Here we have the veggies that I used besides the mung beans. So I have here 1 small red onion, 1 yellow bell pepper and a few mushrooms. I chopped all into small pieces. Next I used 1 small can of coconut milk and the garam masala spice mix, which I keep in this mason jar. The main ingredients were the mung beans that I cooked in the morning while I was working out, so here they are. I put a small amount of coconut oil into a preheated non-sticky pan. And then I threw in about 3 crushed garlic cloves, and the mushrooms, the bell peppers and the onions. I tossed all for a bit. And then I added about 3 tablespoons of the garam masala spice mix. I went in with about 2 full cups of the mung beans, and then I stirred all and let it cook for a while. I added about 1.5 cup or maybe 2 cups of water, and then I covered the pan and let it simmer for a while. I would say about 5 minutes. Instead of salt, I used, as always, about half a tablespoon of my favorite vegetable soup powder. And at the end, I added the coconut milk and I stirred all and cooked all for 2 additional minutes. In the meantime, I also chopped quite finely a few branches of cilantro and I added them into the mix. I stirred all in. Then I thickened the sauce just a little bit with a cornstarch, and then I served my masala with basmati rice. I finally learned and didn't start eating, and my plate for once doesn't look like a battlefield. So here we have our dinner. I have here 1 cup of basmati rice with the mung bean kind of masala that I cooked today. Now, if anyone of you is Indian here, please don't kill me. I probably butchered the recipe, but it tastes really great. And that's gonna be our dinner. And as always, I have here a large cup of water, and I still have a little bit of my chai tea. Now, normally I never track my food. I just never had the urge to do that. It seems like a lot of work and I never really cared because I never had any reasons. I am in general very healthy, and anytime I had my blood work done, especially ever since I went vegan, my blood work is excellent. The only thing the doctor told me is I'm not supposed to take any more iron because my iron levels are actually almost too high. So there was never any need for me to do that. But for the sake of the video, I thought it would be fun to sit down and to break the foods down that I had today. So I downloaded Chronometer. Now I'm new to this, so I had to kind of estimate some of the things. So the amounts that I entered into Chronometer are maybe not 100% correct, but I think we still got a pretty good estimate for the nutritional value of the foods that I had today. So according to Chronometer, today I consumed about 2,100 calories. It also says that I had 17.7% protein, 58.4% carbs, and 23.9% fat and 0 alcohol. And I also looked at the minerals and vitamins. According to Chronometer, I met pretty much any value that there is. Apart from vitamin A, I had apparently only 55% of the recommended daily dosage. It said I had a little bit too much sodium and I could use 8% more fat. And then it says I had a bit too much of vitamin B3, which is niacin. But other than that, everything is marked as green, which is great. And I mean, honestly, we do not eat the same foods every day, so I don't expect to have the perfect values every day. But I just thought it would be interesting to tell you how many calories I actually eat, because I honestly did not have any idea. I usually eat very intuitively. I always eat only as much as I need in order to be satisfied and in order to feel full without feeling stuffed. And maybe that's why I never had any problems. I hate the feeling when I'm hungry, so I could basically never go on any starvation diet, and neither should you. No one should starve themselves. Hi guys, this is future Lara. I made a few changes in the entries in my Chronometer because I later found out that you can actually enter custom foods with their exact nutritional values. So I entered the particular protein powder that we are using, and I also found the powdered peanut butter from my protein on Chronometer's list. So I swapped the values for the vegan protein powder because before that I used a random vegan protein powder from Chronometer's list, and I also swapped the values for the peanut butter because now it's the powdered peanut butter that has slightly less fat, and that actually made quite a big change because now it says that I consumed in total 1,881 calories. Let's have a look at the fats and protein and carbs. It says that I had 17.3% protein, 58.4% carbs, 24.3% fat. And then when I look at the list of vitamins and minerals, there were a few minor changes. So overall, I still met pretty much anything with a few exceptions. So the vitamin B3 value is still too high. I should still have more vitamin A. That remained at 55%. So that's something I definitely have to keep an eye on. And my sodium intake is apparently still too high. What changed were the amounts of fat that I consumed. So now my consumption of fat is at 83%, and the omega-6 are at 97%. So these were the changes that I noticed when I corrected the protein powder and peanut butter nutritional values. I should also mention that I entered into my personal profile on Chronometer my sex, my age, my height, and my weight, and I have the standard basal metabolic rate settings, and right now I have the activity level at moderately active because I haven't been exercising as much as usual since I've been sick 2 weeks, and now I'm just kind of taking it easy for the time being. So that's the update. And that is it for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's What I Eat in a Day vlog. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you guys so much and see you soon. Bye!